Today's topic is automatic society automations. So we are going to look through what automation is depending on different revolutions from the first revolution and second revolution, third and fourth. So we are in right now as being to experience this one, whatever that is. So we would like to understand what automation is. So we would like to interpret automation in terms of system, in terms of communications, in terms of tools, in terms of material as being of human. So I'm not sure you. So I hope and I already know you are better than this one. You are digital society generations. Some I'm older generation, but we can discuss this one based on our understanding and knowledge as well. Okay. So keyword of today class is automation and data, especially big data, and entropy we are going to discuss and touch on, and to discuss about the both and Anthropocene, NegAnthropocene, and NegAnthropocene, 탈인류세, and entropy as well. And also we are going to touch concept of value. So from labor value, the wage labor value, and the shadow labor value, and most importantly, after Anthropocene, exit of Anthropocene, so we are going to bring another scale of value, which can be defined as value of values. So that's the keywords we are going to discourse today. And so we are going to use again street smart. Please ready for that. And if you didn't log in, please use this code SCIHUTRX12. Okay. And so I'm not sure you remember. So you were age of 8 and 7 or 6. I'm not sure, depending on your age. Long time back in 2008. So actually before, previous that year, 2007. So we experienced, we went through this financial catastrophe, then the subprime mortgage loan and a bubble collapse, the collapse of a bubble economy with special capitalisms. So I'm not sure you heard about derivative. So you, of course, you are interested in what you are well aware of stock and Bitcoin and blockchain, but I'm not sure you are familiar with and aware of derivative. Have you heard about the derivatives? 파생상품, derivatives. So that's the. So we had a problem a couple of months ago, last year, from 우리은행. So they sold a special product of a capital product of investment. So they seemingly the guarantee of the original money to be invested in that specific special the product, but actually not. So a person actually they lost their investor money. So the couple of bank involved. So auditory institution investigated those with the crime, the potentials. Have you heard about the derivative, by the way? No? Derivative? No? What is derivative? So stock, you know the stock, right? But the derivative, the capitalisms. So capitalisms, I believe, top of the capitalisms. So if you need the capital, so you loaned from the the bank and other institution, but they made this specific the product of derivatives. So you invest money, so you are not sure you can get your original money back to after a specific period of time, but high risk produce high profit. So the capitalism, so who knows the underlying theory behind those, so the derivative product is very challenging for you to get the benefit as much as possible, as high as possible. So invest money, and your company, you invest your money into, so invest those the fund into the specific project in the world globally. So then you can get the profit or lost money from those investment. So derivative, please look at this after class. I don't have enough capacity to explain the product, but the derivative is very the high risk, high profit types of a product and investee. So I think you already involved, but you didn't recognize. So from those subprime mortgage loan, the bubble collapse in 2007 in US. So gave us catastrophic situation of financial capitalisms. So have you looked at this movie? The title with the Big Short. So the casting, the Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling, the Batman persons, and the Brad Pitt as well. So this dealt with those crises with especially the subprime mortgage loan in US. But this the movie was especially interesting to see what happened behind those collapse of a bubble economy in US in 2007, to understand what the capitalism is in terms of investment with the derivative especially. So if you're interested in these types of topics, please watch this movie. Okay, so some of you already watched. So to remind you of yourself and remembering what topic behind this the movie. And 2008, so everybody around the world, throughout the world, curious about why we had those financial catastrophe from US. So somebody mentioned the subprime, the mortgage loan with the real estate, the 부동산, but so they inserted those the factors, indices, the value into their model to predict or to interpret what happened in those derivative types of loan system with the financial the loan system, but it didn't work to explain what exactly happened behind this the catastrophic subprime collapse. So everybody asked each other in the Wall Street, and even the Queen of UK asked a congressman to made one project to find behind the theories with that the subprime mortgage loan, the bubble economy collapse in US, to find out the theory to explain what actually occurred. But everything failed. So there are one article published in Wired to explain what happened. So this, so you don't have to trust this the article, but so please read this one. Please read this article to understand what happened. Because we are now in 2021 suffering from pandemic situation, the probably affect very similarly to our economic situations after this pandemic. Who knows? So once understanding or interpreting those theories behind those financial crises, then we probably predict our crisis after pandemic occur in a certain way, on certain directions, and then we can be prepared. We can prepare against those the situations. That's why. So the article published on Wired on June 2008, which is this. So titles End of Theory. The data deluge makes the scientific method obsolete. So this article basically said economic person and even scientists, economists, mathematicians, statistics. So everybody inserted certain data, the background data, into the dogmatic economic model in it, but which come up with the failure to interpret those crises occur in US with the subprime mortgage law. Okay, so what happened? What do we mean by that? Okay, in 2008. So this article insists on the top of all existing at the time models, there is one big model, which is Google's the business model. So a Google business model had been there globally in the world, especially in US. Of course, Google is the US company, but the people didn't recognize those existence, those presence to contribute to our society, especially with economics. So in 2008, the people finally recognized, so noticed the presence of Google's business model. Have you heard about the business model of Google's? Okay, so this article said that. So now it is time to ask, what can a science learn from Google? So Google mentions so a lot of different things, but Google has their distinct business model. So still the Google's been using that. They will use right now at present their model to okay, it works. Okay, some error. Okay, so then the Google using this. So what? So then for us to fully understand in effective way what situation looks like after this pandemic, I think we have to understand the Google's business model. So at least today, so you are not, even if you are not interested in these types of business model, the big data, and the Google as well, but please be thrown in these types of the words with the big data, especially centered around Google, at least today, to understand what we are in right now with economic the paradigm. Okay, so the Google, what is Google? So to understand the Google data with the business model, so we have to understand WWW, World Wide Web. So do you know who invented this World Wide Web? I think you do. I think you do. So from UK, from Oxford University, by the Professor Timothy John Berners-Lee. Professor Berners-Lee invented this World Wide Web in 1989. That's why the persons who born after this year, 1989, is defined the digital generation, like you. You are digital generation. Why? You are born after 1989. What other occur in this year, 1989? So I already mentioned, I read a couple of times. So WWW and GIS system, and the collapse of Berlin Wall, and the collapse of the Soviet Union. So all of a sudden, in this year, many different things occur which are very important and significant in the human history. So that's the breakthrough types of the singularity types of year, this year 1989, especially WWW, to make a history. So people finally can be connected visually, but even if not strongly and distinctly visible, but we know that the visible connection between us after WWW. Okay, Professor Berners-Lee used HTML language, hypertext markup language. So this the coding language has a specific property to hook other contents. So when he invented this WWW with his the language HTML, he said his web, World Wide Web, is actually semantic web, not the hermeneutic web. I'm not sure you're familiar with these two different types of web: a semantic web with meaningful meanings, meaningful contents in it. But hermeneutic web is actually not the semantic web. This is we have to, with this web, hermeneutic web, we have to interpret. We have two different options, so we have to select. Like a communication. But with the semantic web of WWW, we don't have to select. The Google select something? No, that's why we call those systems as the automations. With automations, there is no free will of humans. We don't have to select. So they show what something are better than the others. The Google even Google does not know why certain pages are the predominant and dominant over the other pages. So automatically, so from the data to data, from big data, or whatever that the definition is, so Google model just select a certain page for you specifically, based on your data, based on big data, based on a connection from WWW. Okay, those we call that as the semantic web. But the semantic web, which is WWW, invented by Professor Berners-Lee at Oxford. So we've been producing tons of data, which is big data, but we have to select sometime. So to advertise a certain product out of this Google, out of those the product. So we have to use hermeneutic web. So that's why we need artificial intelligence with the big data. So please understand. So I'm not expertise. I'm not the majoring in these types of web and artificial intelligence, but I understand in a big way, in a big picture. So Google to produce a lot of data for them, for us, for the world, to make money, to make certain types of capitals at www, which is a semantic web, okay, semantic way, different from hermeneutic web. So, then sometimes they have to select to design the better page for you with the product, with the service, with the capital investment through artificial intelligence. The long time ago in 1989, if Professor Bernard Lee at Oxford designed www based on hermeneutic web, what happened? So nobody knows. So he designed his www, the World Wide Web, in a semantic way. Okay, there is no selection. So only data acquisitions. Okay, so if you're interested in this, please read this article. So article is short, so very easy to understand. Very easy to understand. So www in 1989. And after 10 years, the first search engine from Google show up in 1998. Okay, after 10 years. Another after 10 years, in 2008, Google, the presence of Google, nobody actually cared about the Google. So before that, somebody actually attacked Google because this is a monopoly types of a big company. But people recognize their intention, their purpose to control the world with the data. So in 2008, from the article, the published in Wired, the people finally recognized presence of Google with their business model, with Google's business model. They recognized. So 2021, which is present. So what actually make the big difference between the Google's business model? We're still using Google's business model. We are probably controlled by the Google's business model. So you may argue we have Amazons and Apples and Neighbors and Samsung. So don't be misunderstood. So every other company use data from Google right now. So Google is so big of the big companies, I believe. So a long time ago, when I was studying for my master's thesis in my university, so I used floppy disk long time ago, 1983, 1989, a long time ago. So with the data size of a kilobyte, we are more than enough to use a floppy disk. With the megabyte, so we have to use a hard disk. And a gigabyte and terabyte, we have to use a disk array. So disk center, data center, whatever that is. So we have a big data center in university, in a specific city. So so inside the ground. So because data produce a lot of heat, to cool down those heat out of a disk array, we have to use air conditioners, like the blockchain generation, right? And now we are approaching, and we are now already probably already in the data scale of the petabyte. Now, of course, we can use a disk array to be extended to the maximum, but we are using what? Cloud. Instead of disk array, we are using cloud storage with these types, with this scale of data in the unit of petabyte. Okay, so with this data accumulated from www, so Google is continuously accumulating data based on semantic with the contents. But with this semantic web, there is no mathematics, there is no economic, especially economic model. But they have their own business model. What is it? Who knows? There is no specific theory behind those, but it works. Based on statistics, based on their Google's hermeneutic interpreting methodologies. Okay. Yeah, please read this one from the articles. Okay. So at the petabyte scale, information is not a matter of a simple 3 or 4-dimensional taxonomy and order, but of agnostic. Agnostic means we do not know exact what happened based on theory and based on mathematics, deterministic mathematics. So it called for entirely different approach, one that requires us to lose a tether of data as something can be visually in this totality. It forces us to view data through mathematically first and establish context for it later. We just accept it and then we try to understand what underlies with those data and a selection by Google. For instance, Google conquered the advertising world with nothing more than applied mathematics. That's what I mean. It didn't pretend knows. It's very important, I believe, fallacy and the philosophy of Google. They never pretend that they know everything, but they provide what? Services, selection for us, for their advertising based on their business model. To know and to produce for us to certain knowledge, certain suggestions. We use the theories, we use the knowledge, our knowledges, but the Google never provided knowledge, but they used their schematics, procedures to provide us a certain page, certain data. Okay, that's the very, very interesting, but sometimes very scary. Okay, and Google was right because we are controlled by right now the Google. The Google's the philosophy is that we do not know why this page is better than another page. Okay, so that's the Google's the power right now. Okay, so we are now get to the participation on Street Smart. Please get to May 4th automation on your app, and give me the big difference between third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution. Please write down even one word or a sentence to describe difference in definitions or characters and properties, whatever you'd like to say, between third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution. Please remind yourself and Google and big data and www. Okay, please. with the first the participating the questions, what make a big difference between third and fourth industrial revolutions. So you gave me the right answer, the right insight to differentiate between two revolutions. So we know the first revolutions, first industrial revolution, long time, 18th centuries in UK. So we understand that those automations behind from the steam engines. Then in UK, so we understand, even if we do not exactly describe a definition of the automation at the time, we know that what automation is. I think they understand what automation is in UK long time back to in 18th centuries with their automatic the systems founded on the steam engines. And the second industrial revolutions. So we call the Fordism types of that, and we understand those one with the heavy industry especially. And third and fourth, what bigger difference, I believe, you believe? What major? So we know that, but for examples, so we achieve the finally over previous two industrial revolutions, first and second. From third industrial revolution, so we finally achieve a social value with the WWW, by hyperconnectivity. And how about the fourth? So we still available with a social value. And in addition to that, so we have a new concept of value of values. We have a value of the human labor and time, labor time I mean, even with the third social value, even if we connect it, we still have a scale of value, unit of value, a standard of value, based on the human labor and time. But after the fourth industrial revolution's paradigm is going to be shifting from the previous and traditional the scalable value into new value of the value with the big data. So that's the big difference, I believe. I'm not sure you. So we can define these two different revolutions. So only 10 years the difference between two, third and fourth. But so definitions on the distinct is dramatically the big between two. Even with the first revolutions, the second revolutions, although with a very big the difference between two, but personally I believe with human levels, human value levels, third and fourth, between two, there are huge difference. Why is it? So only data, only digital society, but beyond those we have the binary shift and paradigm shift, especially with the value, and as well as unit of value, scalable value, standard of value. That's the big difference between two, I believe. So you don't have to agree with my opinion. So you have your own. That's very important from this class. So we are talking about the science and humanities, right? So we are scientists, engineer, and business person. So we would like to understand our society. And this week with the topic of automations. So we know our understanding and interpretations of the automations. Okay. with the fourth industrial revolutions, we know big data, but the big data is big, but I believe personally, give you my opinion, what the big shift of paradigm with respect big data and artificial intelligence means to us. So I believe those are based on scale of value. Scale of value. Okay, that's the unit value and standard value. Okay, so in automation in 2021, so I already mentioned, so robot systems from the third industrial revolution, but we have right now artificial intelligence to get and to select a certain page from Google and give us and produce paradigm shift. The person I believe, which is transvaluation level with a new scalable value. So it's automations into 2021. How can we define automation at present in 2021? Please define right now at present what automation is. Long time ago, automation is conveyor belt types of that, steam engines. So in 1989, revolutions of a third levels of industrial revolutions, so we have connectivity, hyperconnectivity, the different society connected visually based on digital connectivity. But that's the automation, the previously. But right now, we have a new automations right now at present, especially after pandemic. What happened to us? That's my questions. We would say still Google, okay, still Google. But with the big data, which every company uses for their own model. So Amazon have their own model. Apple's model. Samsung, Naver, okay, Kakao. And Chinese, the companies are their own models. But based on Google's business model. Okay, so that's the big. So I'm not sure the Professor Bernard Lee at Oxford and predict who govern the world with these types of big data. I don't think he predicted. But now, so we have this one. And then, so right now, so the people being defined our era and times as an Anthropocene. But we have a new conceptual concept being shown up to us with a different concept against the Anthropocene, which is neganthropic, the value, negative entropy. Have you heard about it? So I'm not sure you're familiar with this entropy, the concept. I think you do. And then we have entropy expansions, increase. That's the basic understanding based on physics. So we have a positive entropy in a positive direction. So to increase this entropy from anthropogenic activity, right? But right now, from automations with the big data, give us new paradigm, new theory against these entropic increase systems, which is this, okay? With this, the climate change, global warming issues. So people being wasting fossil fuel to emit more and more the carbon dioxide, the methane into our atmosphere to increase the average temperature, increase weather, to bring us new horizon of a crisis and catastrophe in our human history. So people using their theory to protect, but seemingly, so they would like to develop their business model to make money more and more. Please look at Al Gore, Trump, and other European countries, in Japan and China, even Korean government. They really interested in to protect our crisis of climate change. Do you think really it is? They are that much smart person? I don't think so. Okay, so even if they pretend to be protecting our crisis and catastrophe against the climate change, but they are using their capital market, make them wealthier, to make more money for their citizens, of course, because they have to protect their power. So those paradigm, based on their theory, based on their economic the situations, they would like to maximize. They would like to maximize entropy in both economic and political situations. That's the where we are present in right now. But we are new era after Anthropocene, NegAnthropocene. But after, so we would like to exit from Anthropocene. We would like to escape from Anthropocene, but totally different word, name NegAnthropocene. Please look at this cartoon. If you are this young lady, there is no room for you, for especially youth generations. All the job is already occupied. Everyone want to be the public service persons, 공무원. They would like to get the job, but the other automation system, automatic the system with the robot and artificial intelligence already occupied your job. So this is not a matter of which occupation and job is still available in the future. The other is not. But this is matter of human labor and human mankind itself. So I agree the Bernard Stiegler's the opinion. At present, youth generation experiencing unprecedented catastrophe of unemployment. You agree? So if you are going to have a job in Hyundai, job in Samsung, does that make any difference with you? So it is not a matter of a job opportunity and competition to get to doctors and permanent job with Hyundai and Samsung and Apples. It doesn't matter, he said. So it is a matter of human mankind's fate with a new horizon of value itself. Okay. So please look at the big difference between two. So we have an entropy types of approach. So we burn the fossil fuel to increase our freedom in economy, in capital. That's the Anthropocenes in Korean NegAnthropocene. But we are approaching new era titled NegAnthropocene, negative Anthropocene, because all the occupations, all the job, the based on human labor is already filled. There is no room, even negative value of entropy. So the physics cannot explain those. We call that area NegAnthropocene. So in Korean, 탈인류세. So automation produce NegAnthropic value, even if we do not know exactly what those are. But under NegAnthropocene 탈인류세 conditions, so we have still values. In Anthropocene era and times, we have a value. So you have a carbon tax value, ESG value, right? So green, New Deals types of the values. The Korean government and the US government invest a lot of money into green. So everything based on what? Where? Anthropocene. But there, they are, I believe certainly, personally, out of date, obsolete. From the article published in Wired, based on business model, from Google's. Even if you invest a lot of money, even if you earn a certain money from your stock investment, like a Big Short, which is a movie. But we are approaching new horizon, new times of NegAnthropocene. Okay, NegAnthropocene. This is participation too. So give me, if you understand the NegAnthropocene, 탈인류세, NegAnthropocene, please give me your example of any value out of this one. Please. Okay. So we are now have a value of a human labor. Please look at the left-hand side. So we have a human labor, and then we depends on those labor based on human labor. Even if we are working with automation systems, automation systems still allow us to place our highest value in the human labor. And somebody believe capitalisms and conservatisms, but somebody believe Cajun, so which is kind of socialism based on government power, control everything based on welfare systems. But beyond everything into these two, so we have Anthropocene. So forward to what? New value with the data. Okay. So data is everything. Data is new oil. So now, petroleum is oil, right? And some power is oil. The wind is oil. Wind is new energy and oil. But in near future, down the road, data is oil. Only oil probably. 여러분 지금은 뭐 풍력이 에너지고 기름이죠, 그죠? 그러면 태양광, 뭐 오일은 오일이고. 하지만 미래에는 data is only oil, I believe. So everybody mentioned that, believe that. So if you use detailed data in an effective way, so you can produce as many value as possible, but understand. So we need to define newly what value is. That's the most important things through this transvaluation. From labor and time from Marx, from human traditional definition to data. So what picture of a NegAnthropocene society can you draw? What's the characteristic? What's the distinctive characteristic under this NegAnthropocene? So after Anthropocene, the first one, human free will? No. So those times, so defined as the NegAnthropocene society with automations, with the data. So free will, from human is not significant any longer. The secondary, collapse of labor, the wage labor, 임금노동, wage labor. So everybody's mentioned that the 50% of jobs disappear in near future, and then please, younger generation, please find appropriate job. Shame on that. Okay, that's not the matter of that. 여러분, 저 개인적인 의견이지만 그런 말들에 기울이지 마세요. 어떤 잡은 살아남고 어떤 잡은 중요하지 않다. That's the, I think, that's the insult to youth generations, I believe. So I apologize as one of the older generation, but please understand the new paradigm shift. That's the not matter of job. That's the still deceiving you, I believe. Okay, so then to survive and to make our human mankind survive in the future. So only hope is from youth generations. So we have a second distinctive properties, the collapse of wage labor. Third, collapse of professional expertise like me. So doctor systems are still sustained in the future. Professors still available in the future. So with the government, with the authorities, so I don't think so. Okay, the fourth, so we have still youth, wealth, and the capital and the money. How we actually distribute those wealth into the public. So someone mentioned the UBI, universal basic income. Someone mentions socialism based on tax system to design their welfare systems. But still you believe those work in the future. So these types of that, I believe, new topics we have to discuss and discourse. From the hidden, from the covered, into being to be available for our society. Okay, so it's up to you, for you to design new future of our society with the newly defined automations based on the data, especially Google. Okay, so this is the last one, so you don't have to. And Google was and still right, I believe. And everyone in this area believe Google is only one. Okay, do you think whether these situations continue down the road or for a while? What do you think? That's the message, final message from me. And I think about, this is only my opinion, but to be shared, I believe I shared my opinion with Google and big data with the topic of NegAnthropocene with you to give you some insight, to hint for you to have a chance to think of the future, down the road future. Okay.